Frankie Lee
went from carpenter and joiner to owning an online business, took that to multiple seven figures and took that to the top 0.5%. America is the best place in the world to live, to make money, and to scale anything in life.
Frankie Lee, brother, welcome to the Man of War podcast. It's an honor to have you on, man.
Thank you very much. It's awesome. Good to be in this studio. It's epic, isn't it?
Yeah, I love it, man. Love to get guys like you on board. You have that mentality where, you know, you're out there, you're hungry, and I appreciate you coming down here because I know that you don't live in the United States, but you're down here, and for you to make this stop is really meaningful. So I appreciate that.
I think a lot of people want to do podcasts on Zoom and want to make their life easier all the time, but I want to meet people. You know, I wanted to meet you today. I wanted to come here, touch base with all of your staff, see what you're doing, see how you're doing it, and just take an interest in what you're doing, because obviously everyone out there is trying to do podcasts on Zoom all the time, but you have a real disconnection with the audience that way. It's good to get face to face so we can add some value to a lot of people today. Man,
love that. Great mindset there, Frankie. All right, so before we get started, I'm going to give you an opportunity. Hey, introduce yourself for people that may not know you a little bit.
So my name is Frankie Lee. I was obviously born in the UK, and I left the UK in 2014 to move to Australia, and Australia changed my life. It took me to a whole different level. I went from carpenter and joiner in Australia and having a boxing gym to owning an online business called contentremoval.com. Took that to multiple seven figures. We remove online content for celebrities and brands. And then in back end of 2019, 2020, I started the Frankie Lee podcast and took that to the top 0.5% over the last 5 years. And obviously that's probably how you've come across my content online and all the stuff that I'm doing. And so I'm scaling both of those things right now, and I'm coming to America to try and take it to the next level.
Right there. I love that. Taking it to the next level. So I'm going to segue right into that. Okay. What does that next level look like to you?
Well, the next level for me is like what you'll see online at the minute is all this content out there talking to American people saying, and the rest of the world saying, you come to Dubai, come to this tax-free location, come to here, come to there, come to there. Look, for everyone at home that's listening to this, America is the best place in the world to live, to make money, and to scale anything in life. Anybody that tells you differently is telling you a lie. So I've come here with the sole intention to take my life to a whole different level. You know, I want to live that Australian life. That's why I'm in Miami. So I've still got the Australian life, but I want access to a bigger market, a market that, you know, has uncapped potential. There's no way me or you in our lifetimes could exceed the cap of the market in America right now. So that's my vision, that's my dream, that's my goal. I don't have all the answers, and I want to tell every single one of you listeners right now, you don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to know exactly how you're going to execute every plan, but what you need is a crystal clear vision for how you want your life to look, like a dream day in your life. I read my dream day in my life every day, and when I was sat in Dubai, I was reading my dream day, and when I'd read it, it'd say, I wake up in Miami, the thread count on my sheets are this and this and this, and my woman's this. I'm like, but where did it start? It says I wake up in Miami. Well, I was in fucking Dubai. So it wasn't congruent with the vision I had for my life. So I made the change to make sure it was congruent. So the first thing I want to say to everyone listening to this is make sure you have the dream day of how you want your life to look written out, and have it in excruciating detail, because then if you read that every day, you can't unsee it, and you can't help but attract that future into your life and bring about that, because you have to change, because you can't read it and then not see it.
That's great. All I heard there was you're a fucking action taker. All right. You see your vision, you go hunt it, and you're after it. And that is such a huge component of manhood. Right. So many men, you know, younger men specifically, they just sit there and they'll dream a dream and they'll never go after it and execute. You know, we started the podcast. You said, look, you flew from Dubai. Was it Dubai?
So I'm here now I've come from Dubai to America now, but originally I flew from the UK with $6,000 and a bag of clothes, and I landed in Australia on a one-way ticket flight.
Bang.
That's how I started.
Let's do it.
Because what I want everyone to understand is, because I suppose a lot of your audience are American. If you're in America right now, you're literally in the top 1% of the world. You have the greatest opportunity, the greatest access to abundance you've ever had in your entire life. All of you have got this gift. Everyone's everyone's telling you to hand in your American passport and get away from taxes. No, think about how you can make more money and get taxed even more, because you've got the opportunity. You want to create more opportunity in your life, for your family's life and everything else. This is the greatest time to be alive, and you're in the greatest country there is. Like, with the access to the most amount of opportunities there is that I've ever seen in my entire life. Everywhere I look, from the people cleaning the windows to the people sweeping the roads to the people like walking around in suits, there's money to be made. There's action being taken, and all you have to do is find out where in the chain of command you can slip in and take your piece of the pie. And it's like it's just all there for you. And as long as you eat healthy and keep your testosterone high and keep your drive high and have your day of your dream life written out, so you actually know where the fuck you're going, which most men don't. How can you not hit one of the balls out of 100 and knock it out the ballpark? How can you not do that?
That's a great mindset. But I'm going to push back a little. All right. And I hear a lot of men say, I want to get the fuck out of Dodge. I want to leave the United States because women in Dubai is where it's at.
Right. Okay.
Because here in the United States, for whatever reason, they have this mindset where just women are cold, they're snobby, especially in Miami. Okay, I was born and raised in Miami, so I hear a lot of men talk about, hey, let's go to Saudi Arabia, let's go to Dubai, Abu Dhabi, let's go there. That's where women are more, subservient. They're just nicer overall. You can walk up and talk to a woman, engage in good dialogue. What's your experience?
My experience is that in all the top tier cities, the top 1% men get access to all the top elegant women anyway. Mm-hmm. So it's not about you changing your city, thinking you're going to change your life. You've got to change you. That's how you change your life. I mean, most of the men that talk about these women in all these locations haven't been to as many locations as perhaps I have. They perhaps haven't lived in Australia. They haven't lived in Dubai. They haven't lived in Spain. They haven't lived in the UK. They haven't lived in the US, in different parts, LA and Miami. If you haven't experienced that, how can you even speak about it? And a lot of the people are getting advice from are speaking stuff in this world that they don't know anything about. It's like, all I'd say to most men that are looking to achieve anything in life, where they're looking to attract the perfect woman, it's like, well, are you even the best man that you can be right now? Is your health dialed in? Is your nutrition and your life dialed in? Do you have a set of goals? Do you know where you're going? What women are most attracted to in life is a man that has a purpose and a greater vision. A woman, the type of women that these men want to attract, they are women looking for a man that is financially stable. He knows where he's fucking going. He has a mission greater than himself, and he will not turn off the path towards his mission for a woman. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, I went out for dinner with two beautiful women last night, elegant as, right? Why was I with two elegant women? Because there's not loads and loads of men out there that can attract these type of two elegant women. So I was sat there at the table with two elegant women, right? Now, when I'm there, they're not taking me off the path to this podcast today. This podcast is on my mission. So I'm not staying up late with these two just because they're attractive to take me off my mission with this podcast. What I'm saying is, get your mission dialed in, get your nutrition dialed in, get your health dialed in, get all the things that should be dialed in as a man before you start worrying about where the best women are in the world. The best women are everywhere that you are. There's beautiful, elegant women in the back end of Colorado. There's beautiful, elegant women in Arizona, Texas, wherever. They're everywhere. But the reason they're not finding you is because you've not elevated your character. And the only thing that you should work on as a man is your character, and the rest of it just looks after itself. Yes. You know, your character brings your money, brings your health, builds your fitness. You stand up. You say you're going to be there on a certain time. You're there on a certain time. You say you're going to turn it to a podcast. You turn it to a podcast. You say, hey, you're going to do this. Whatever you say you're going to do, you do it. Then you've created a character that's congruent in the world. And once you've created that character, the doors unlock, and all the doors unlock, and you've seen that in your life with how you turn up and how you do business.
Without a doubt. And that was my next point, where yes, absolutely. I mean, it's I question these men, and I say, well, you're going to run to Abu Dhabi or Dubai because you think women are better or easier there? Well, first thing that I say is cross-check yourself. What kind of man are you? Are you a man that's actually operating at a high level? Right? And most men are not, because you mentioned 1%, and I truly truly believe in everything in me that men really are operating usually at a subpar level. There's so much left in the tank, and there's a certain sense of let me go back. I think that men in general, and I've coached over 12,000 men over the last decade, okay? And what I see right off the bat is a lack of ambition to be better. Everything is just about, let me just push hard enough to get the job done and nothing beyond that. So you make a great point. Great point. When women want men who are well off, ambitious, take care of themselves, men who are driven and focused, I mean, that's sexy for a woman, right? They admire the man. So that's where I'm going. Admiration. A woman, in my world, a woman needs to admire a man. And the only way that a man is going to get a woman's admiration is by being a top level dude. So, you know, I appreciate you saying that, because it makes I'm like, yeah, we're connected that way. And I agree with you 100%. Through your travels, do you feel like the people that you have met, different cultures? I mean, you have, you know, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, different cultures, Australia, different culture, United States, a different culture. I mean, what stands out in the men that you have met? Is it pretty much the same everywhere around the world, or do you notice that in different cultures, men tend to rise up a little bit more?
Well, here's the thing when it comes to men that I'm around. I'm only around a certain type of echelon of men like yourself, because I've curated what I will and won't accept in my life from my greatest vision. So I will never be around men that aren't on the same mission as me. I won't be around men that cheat on their women because I don't agree with it. I won't be around certain men that do drugs because I don't do drugs. I don't drink alcohol, you know? So it's like, I always take it back to this creating your reality. And I hate to keep taking it there, but it's the truth. It's like, once you know what you will and won't accept in your life, the men that you meet in every place that you travel around the world will always be at the level that will elevate you, not the level that takes you towards degeneracy, which is what we're talking about here. So the commonality around the world is you will attract, like attracts like, hence why me and you have ended up on this podcast today, because like attracts like. Like attracts like in the negative as well. So when men, like going on to your other point, when you said about men will leave the United States because they're told that in Colombia they're better, or in Venezuela they're better, and this and the other, or whatever place, Puerto Rico, Dubai, Australia, yeah, there's beautiful, elegant, articulate women everywhere that you go, right? That will be beautiful wives to you, that will worship the ground you walk on. That they're in every environment. But who are you, and what is your character, and what are you? Because you're looking exterior right now, and you're looking at the exterior going, hey, I want this, so I'm going to leave because in this location they have it. No, you've seen some man online that has elevated his character in that location have access to those type of women, right? And you've seen men in America that have elevated their character have access to those type of women too. So you think that you're not going to change your character, you're just going to change your location, but without changing who the fuck you are, and you think that you're going to change the outcome. No, you're just going to get the same outcome of degenerate person in your life and attract that person, because that's a dynamic match to who you are as a man. So it all comes back in every element of your life to what you do with men. You elevate a man's character. You build an internal compass. You take him to another level. You get him to see parts of himself that he's never fucking seen before. Because it's only when you look inward and at who you are, and stop looking at the outside world thinking you can blame him, her. Stop blaming everyone else and look inside. It's only when you look inside that you unlock all the doors. Because all the doors that you'll ever want to unlock in life are all internal. Like if me and you said we want to scale our business to X amount of revenue, I guarantee you that if me and you sat in a room on our own and just looked at the chessboard as we saw it on our own without everyone else's advice and guidance, and we just asked ourselves a simple question and just said, what is the single lever that I could pull right now on this chessboard, that if I pulled this lever, it unlocks all the doors and gets rid of all the other things that I could do? me and you would find it in an hour in our businesses, and we would unlock that extra revenue. And it's like everything that these men are trying to unlock requires the same question, but framed for whatever element of their life they're trying to unlock it in. And if you sit with yourself for half an hour, 15 minutes, an hour, journal, this, that, and the other, it sounds woo-woo, it may do, but if you're willing to sit there and unlock the doors, you can unlock all your own doors. But they're too filled with these chemicals, they're too filled with the alcohol, they're too filled with the drugs, they're too filled with the ego to think that it's them, and they think it's everything else outside of them. It's nothing outside of you. There is nothing. If there's one thing you take away from this conversation, take this away. There is nothing outside of you holding you back. It's all internal work. And that is why you're so good at what you do and why you've helped so many men.
That's amazing. I love that. So let's kind of reverse engineer this a little bit. We started talking before the podcast. You mentioned foods, right? Where, obviously nutrition is critical. I mean, that's your lifeblood. And, we kind of walk down a path, going all the way into social media and things. So let's talk about that. Let's open that door. I will say this, from my understanding, food in different places are different. Like,
1000%.
like if I just got back from Guatemala a couple of days ago, and I did a whole trip in Costa Rica, did a speaking engagement there, and we ran one of our crucibles in Guatemala. And I could tell you that every time I come from those countries, I feel better because the food is like real food.
Yeah.
Not, engineered or modified in some weird way. So the food that we have in this country, unfortunately, I'm hoping that it gets better now with RFK, handling some of that. But what's your take on specific, the consumption for young men who are trying to get their testosterone up, that are trying to level up their lives? I see depression all over the place. What's your take on that?
So my take is, and having seen all these different places, I would say that America, sadly, has the worst food in the world that I've ever been to. Like, to be totally honest, like European food
Agreed.
is unbelievable,
Yes.
unbelievable next level compared to this. Australian food and the Costa Rican food, like Costa Rican food is all about fruit and the natural vegetables and everything's real. Like, if you saw what an actual real banana looked like in Costa Rica, it looks nothing like a banana that you get off of the shelf here that's manufactured, right?
Without a doubt, yes. Yes.
And not many people know what a banana actually looks like. Yeah, would you agree?
A lot, yes.
So, the best way in America to overcome this is to go single ingredient foods. That's the way I have to eat here. It's the only way I can eat here to try and maintain some form of health. Is to go, right, I will have eggs, I will have steak, I'll have chicken, I'll have roast potatoes, I'll have broccoli, I'll have green beans, I'll have, do you know what I mean? I eat single ingredients, and I know what goes on the food, and I know there's no seed oils and palm oils and this and that, and it's single ingredient. Because it's the closer you can get your food to single ingredient, or if you're going to put ingredients together that you put them together yourself, the closer you can get to that, the closer you can get to your ideal physique.
Sure.
That's going to naturally raise your testosterone anyway. But I just think that people need to understand portion size. It's like, your stomach is only as big as your fist, Right. So if you're sat there and eating a supersized this in America and a supersized that and a double gulp this and all this other marketing ploy that you've been taught, and all these truck drivers are taught around here and everything like that, it's like you're just defeating yourself. Because the biggest thing that I can't think of the word. There's a syrup that's in all these drinks that you have here. It's gone out of my head as I was thinking about it, but there's a thick, sludgy syrup. If you saw the raw ingredient of that, you'd never ever wish to put it in your body. It's in all your soft drinks. It's like, well, you can just replace that for like sparkling water and throw some lemon juice in there, or some.
It's fructose.
Fructose, and sucralose, and all this kind of these contagulants that are just sat in your food.
Bad.
It's like if we can just get men to understand, like, you are being attacked on a spiritual level right now to bring your vibration down, so you cannot connect with yourself, with God, with the universe, whatever you believe in. And the only way to take you back, that I know, is to eat cleaner, to be more present with who you are, to take responsibility for what you do, and for having a plan of attack on what you'd like to bring in the world, because I guarantee you'll get further with a plan than what you will without one.
Sure.
And it's just like, let's get men back to going, hey, I want to raise my testosterone, rather than going and just taking TRT or and solving it with the exonerous source, which may or may not be something that should be introduced. It's like, get the blood test, get your testosterone checked. Now, like, okay, cool. Here are my markers. Here are my base markers. Now bring in, okay, cool. Now just go 1 month and say, okay, I'm going to take Frankie's advice here today. I'm just going to have roast potatoes, chicken and broccoli, roast potatoes, broccoli and steak, roast potatoes, green beans and steak, just for a month. It's boring. It's easy. And water. And see your blood markers in 6 to 8 weeks time. You probably won't need the TRT, you know, as long as you're eating those kind of foods cooked in your own kitchen, so you know what goes in, and then you can prepare it ahead of schedule, and then you can and then add in your supplements and anything that you might be missing, because you've seen on your blood report you're low on zinc, you're low on iron, you need this, you need vitamin B, this, that, and the other.
Sure.
You know. But the thing is, it's the same with testosterone that most men are dealing with. It's the same with their vision for their life, and it's the same with women. They don't have a plan, and they haven't set the baseline because they've not even tested where the baseline is. So you test for your vision. If you don't have a vision, the baseline is to write a vision, right? If you don't have, if you want to increase your testosterone, your baseline is to know where it is right now. Because how do you know whether you're increasing it or this, that, and the other without it?
Of course.
It's like, take everything back to baseline and simplify your whole life, because too many men are getting in the weeds with complications, and that's why they kill themselves off in all areas of their life.
100%. And as we move down the stairs and we get into the world of dating and women and confident men, what I tend to find is that there's a lack of confidence across the board with men specifically between the ages of 20 and 45.
Yeah. And
it's sad because, one of the things that I look at, I have two boys that are in their 20s. They're both in serious relationships, but before that, like, I'm thinking, and I have another son that's in university right now, and everything is dating on an app, right? So we were talking about this before we started, and I think that we have a problem there, right? Like, as men, that we've lost that edge. I think it does start from the testosterone and then the will to actually walk up to a woman and have that chemistry, but I did also mention that so many men are so jaded, right? Because they're scrolling through Instagram and they're seeing all these beautiful women that they would have never, at least when I was coming up, you didn't have that option, right? I mean, the most that you could do is get a magazine of, pretty girls or whatever, but outside, and maybe in the movies, but it wasn't like an every second thing where you click through Instagram and you got a beautiful girl, showing you her ass, her tits, whatever. And you're sitting there and you're like, after a while, it becomes dull. There's a sense of dullness. And these young men, I mean, it's like by the time they go out and they see a girl on the beach or they see a girl in the bar, it's kind of like, and now the flip side for women, I'm thinking, I mean, it's like they have a lot of the pull, right? Because they can show, and then some guy that has a private jet that, it's making, millions of dollars, and could take her away, whisk her away to Dubai or wherever, Costa Rica, what I'm saying? Like for a weekend. I mean, that's easy access for women. Now, every other man out there, they're just left wondering what the fuck to do with their lives. And I don't know, to me, there's like a disconnect, but you're younger than me. So maybe you can help me understand a little bit better how this world that we're living in right now, woman and man, how they're coordinating.
Well, everybody looks at it from the app level and from the Instagram level, because that's what we're seeing right now. But when you look at the causation, you have to look at the cause. What causes that? Well, we have to go back to, the man's health, the man's testosterone, what he's eating, what he's putting in his body, what he's putting in his mind, because he's in a certain shape, he doesn't have the confidence and the ability to be able to go and cold approach a woman on the street and say anything. He's not ever gone into sales, so he doesn't learn how to, sales is introducing yourself to women is just sales.
Sure.
It's literally just sales. It's just basically taking an interest in them and then selling yourself as the service at the back end of it. It's no different to going and selling content removal, to going and selling your coaching programs or whatever. It's the same thing, but people are so far removed. So we're all looking at it, and Instagram, is a problem. You got all these quick dopamine hits. It's this, that, and the other. But if you're a man and you want to reframe your dopamine receptors, the first thing is delete the app off your phone and just use that on the computer. Delete the dating app until you deserve to be on the dating app. And what do I mean by that? I mean, delete the dating app until you've cold approached 30 women, one a day for a month, just naturally as you're out walking and you see a beautiful woman. I guarantee you, she's not been approached all day.
Damn right.
Like in America,
yes.
Maybe in Miami at South Beach, she's been approached a couple of times that day. Maybe 3 times, 2 times, but everywhere else, it's just fair game. It's just you've only got to go and just use your point of difference. Like for me, I could perhaps. It's good for me because perhaps I've got an accent, or because I'm in shape, or this and that. But whatever point of difference you have, you might be funny. You might be really funny and have great. Just use it. Use whatever tool that you have in your disposal to open the door and unlock that door. But you can't set yourself on that path to do that if you're still hiding behind Instagram, the DMs, so easy, and you're hiding behind the Hinge, the Tinders, the this, the that. It's like, even if you're going to stay on Instagram, which is the biggest dating app in the world, let's be real. It's like, don't send. If you see a beautiful woman on Instagram, I'm not sending her a message. I'll send her a voice note, because it allows me to show my personality. It cuts through. I can show my accent. I can show who I am. I can drop a one-liner that won't get lost in context or anything like that, and I can just unlock a different level in that way. So there's many different ways to approach it, but for me, and for the men that I know that you're specifically speaking to, for like that, I really want to talk to the guys that are like 30 to 50 years old. They're I'm talking to you if you're a little bit out of shape, if you're a little bit lack of motivation. I really want you to, when it comes to dating, I really want you to work on your character. I really want you to understand that, because like, we can talk about all the modalities of how to do all these different things, but I really believe that the most confident, embodied, fully envisioned man that you can be is on the other side of you just deciding today to just write down your vision, to just get in the gym, to just set your nutrition goals, to just start preparing meals, to just delete Instagram, to just delete the dating app, to just start talking to people. And the reason why I'm saying talk to people rather than talk to women, and relating it back to this women comment, the reason I'm saying talk to people is because I know that if you want to get better at selling, you got to talk to more people. If you want to get more business into your business, you talk to more people. If you want to get more women, well, talk to more women. And if you want to get better at becoming a fully embodied man, just the answer is always talk to more people.
I love that. It's kind of like you're training along the way, right? Better communication. The more people you talk to, it gets more confident you get. So that's...
Yeah, because I'm sure that... I don't know your advice on this, and I'll ask you to drop it at the end of this, but my advice to most men is to get into sales. Because I think sales is a real core skill that before you should start a business, you should know sales. Before you start talking to women, you should understand sales. Before everything that we're talking about right now, to develop your character, to develop your pattern, comes from the sales and learning how to take rejection. It's going to help you in every other area of your life and make you more confident. Have you all seen? You've all seen like Jonah Hill and people like that. The bigger, fatter guys that don't lose weight. They're just a funny guy, and they just cut through rooms, and they've got beautiful women because they're just funny, right? But he got that by learning how to sell himself in an audition.
I agree. The only thing that I would add to that would be, I think men need to push themselves hard beyond their limits. I think they need to feel pain. I think they also need to compete against other men. I think there has to be something that they feel see, confidence is built many different ways. But one of the easiest ways for a man to build his confidence is to win, right? To stack victories. And the more victories a man stacks, and he challenges himself daily, and he can take these victories and continue building on them, that sense of confidence, man, that's unbreakable confidence. Unfortunately, we do have in the world that we live in, where everything is about comfort. Everything is about, quick delivery. You're ordering something from Amazon, it gets here tomorrow or this afternoon. You order food, it gets delivered in 35 minutes. So for me, it's more about understanding who you are as a person and strengthening those weak blocks that you have, because everyone has blocks, but some of them are weaker than others. And I focus on if it's communication, study communication, get an app, get software that'll teach you how to communicate, hit the gym, push yourself, maybe get into some type of, martial arts, go out there and compete hard. If not, go and play football, baseball, soccer, whatever it is, but compete, get that adrenaline going. I think that all of that builds confidence. And typically the men who are a little bit more confident are men who have gone through something like that and who push themselves. But those are great points that you just brought to the table, man. I mean, that is a very, very clear-cut way to really improve.
I want them to define what a win is first, though, because we're talking about what a win, and people think a win is winning a marathon, is winning the 100-meter sprint, is winning, getting a 100K deal. Let's reframe the win from today for everyone listening to this as you prepare your meals today for tomorrow. That's a win. You go to the gym today. That's a win.
Yes.
You program your ideal day in your life today. Win, right? I'm talking about wins that are super easy. You can do them in an hour, half an hour, and you can stack those, because you are not getting to $100,000 contract by not stacking those small wins and not eating right.
Agreed.
And you are not getting to the level that we both want them to get to by thinking the only win that you can stack is a $100,000 deal, is the £1 million house, is the Ferrari on the driveway. That's a big win. That's not the win that we're talking about. I want you all to be super dialed in and clear on what a win is in your life, and stopping yourself from even starting because you think a win has to be this massive fanfare where everyone starts to celebrate and confetti starts going off. Let's just get that right out the door right now. It's not the Rolex on your wrist, it's not the car, it's not any of this. The win is for you right now, if you're sat on your ass and you're not in the shape that you want to be in, the win is, right, I've got to get my nutrition dialed in. Here's my plan. Go on ChatGPT. Write me a nutrition plan for a guy that's 44, that's 60 pounds overweight, blah, 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 blah. I want to lose the weight in 12 weeks. Cool. ChatGPT did that for you. It's $20 a month. Cool. Now, ChatGPT again. Write me a strength and conditioning program for 4 days a week for this man to describe who you are. Cool. ChatGPT's got you covered. Boom, 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 boom. Now you got 2 things done. 2 wins.
Yep. Now
just turn up to the gym next day. You got 2 more wins. That's 4 wins, and you've not even really started to go yet. Yep. That's how you break. That's how you build undeniable confidence in yourself, by actually doing the little things, because it's the little things that lead you to that big place where you can celebrate.
Yeah, love that. So one of the things that I talk about is the warrior's hour in the morning. Right, every day I wake up with a victory. Every night I go to bed with a victory. And the waking up part is I wake up at 4:30, I give grace, take a cold shower, do 10 minutes of meditation, walk to my gym, come back home, have my clothes ready. I am ready to go out the door. Yeah. Like I am here, boom, 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 methodically, right? Whatever my day brings in, and I'm usually have a very packed day, but I'm on it, right? And to me, the moment that I put my feet on the ground and I'm active, because some days, listen, man, the reality is I don't want to get out of bed. It's shit. I feel like, man, I don't want to do it. But the fact that I push myself to do it, that's a clean and clear victory, right? Now, going to bed at night, no matter what happens and how many losses you stacked during that day, every night, my victory is this. I've been reading since I was 13 years old, and I have never missed one night. And not only that, even in my deathbed when I was in COVID, when I had COVID, when I had oxygen flowing down my face in the ICU, the intensive care unit, I still brought a book to read. I read every night, anywhere between 4 and 7 pages. And that is a ritual that I live and breathe by since I was 13 years old. And I've never, when my wife will tell you, never miss. I take a book with me everywhere, anywhere. And I'm not talking about here book. I'm talking about a physical book. So to me, that's my win at night. I force myself to win. And when I read, the moment I close that book and I say, I'm out, I have that sense of confidence going to bed every night. So what you're saying is perfect. It's magical, right? That is the formula. Wins don't have to be, Ferraris and Lamborghinis and Rolexes and houses, little things at a time.
And isn't it amazing how I said earlier on this podcast that your wins are always internal, they're never external. You reading a book is internal knowledge. It's not external.
That's right.
Nobody sees that you've read a book. How can anyone see that you've read a book? You know you've read a book, and you know you've got the wisdom from the book, but nobody sees that.
Yep.
And once people start not just hearing what you're saying, but feeling what you're saying,
yep,
that's when they can transform their life. Because I will jot out at my most sacred time, like you say, is the end of every day, because I just spend 30 minutes, however long, 20 minutes, just writing down, okay, what are the 5 key tasks that I have to get done tomorrow? And I'm thinking about, okay, obviously the gym's in there because that's a non-negotiable for me. And then obviously the 10,000 steps plus a day is in there, non-negotiable. And then it's like, well, close that content removal deal and make sure that's over the line and paid, because that's the biggest needle mover today. And then we're developing a software, so have that meeting to move that key milestone down here, and then maybe one more win. And then if I just achieve those 5 things in a day, 3 of them are revenue generating, 2 of them are health generating, which generate me more revenue anyway, because you always generate more revenue when you're in shape,
yes,
horny, happy, hungry for life than you will anything else. Then they're all revenue generating activities, aren't they? If I just achieve those 5 things, but even if I got to the end of the day, right, and I've achieved 3 of them, that's 3 more than most people will. Let's just say I completely went wrong today, and I only did the gym before this podcast, and I was on the way to this podcast, and the car got stuck and I couldn't get here. I've still won. I still went to the gym. I still tried my best to get to the podcast, right? I still tried to turn, I gave it everything. I couldn't get here. Sure. So it was like I gave it everything. That's all I want all of these guys that listen to this to do. It's just do that. Whether it's the 5 pages or whether it's the 5 bullet points or whatever it is, like, let's start the night before getting ready to win the next day, right? Because let's not worry about the day that's already gone, that you didn't win, that you're chasing. Don't worry about that. Let that go. Let's worry about what you're going to do tomorrow. From the moment that you leave this podcast today, it's like, okay, cool. Let's get tomorrow straight, or let's get a quick win on the table tomorrow, and then we'll focus from there.
Yep, I agree. We spend probably, what's the number, about an hour and a half per week searching for our clothes when we wake up to get ready for that day of work. And I'm a big believer in getting ready the night before. I have my clothes out, my gym clothes out, my work clothes out. And I have a special place where I put it. So it saves me. As a matter of fact, I get a little, sometimes people think I'm a little weird, but I go out there and put toothpaste on my toothbrush. I have a little case where I put my toothbrush. Everything is laid out for me, my towel, everything in that bathroom. So when I wake up in the morning, I have everything in stride. Hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, methodical, and I'm out the door. And it saves me easy 15 to 25 minutes. So that's beautiful that you're getting things ready that night before, because now you talked about journaling. When do you journal?
Well, there's a few times when I journal. One, I use it at the start of days. I use it at the end of days to collect my thoughts. So, like, say I've got a busy mind and I'm overthinking shit.
Sure.
We all get that. We get to the end of the day, we've got so much stuff. I've got to do this, got to do that. I want to empty my head into a journal, because then I can let it go and I'll get a better night's sleep. So that's one way I use it. And then I use it for the 5 points to drive home in terms of like, okay, what is, if there was 5 things I could get done tomorrow, what are the key 5 things? And 2 of them have to be for me. That has to be my walk, has to be my gym. They have to be 2 of them, because I'm non-negotiable on that. Because if I don't go to the gym this morning and do legs and get fired and get up, then I'm not turning up here the best version of myself, and I'm not high energy for you. I don't want to come here and just sit here like a cabbage potato, just on the other side of the mic like everyone else would. I want to give you a bit of.
Sure.
I want people to feel this, not just listen to it. So you have to be congruent in that. So that's how I use a journal. But the best way for everyone that listening to this to use the journal, in all honesty, is just, if you could just use the journal to, one, plan some wins, right? To write out your dream life. But if you could use the journal at the end of every day, when your mind is busy and you're struggling to sleep, to just empty your mind. If you just empty your mind every day and just start doing that for a few weeks, I guarantee you, you're going to be like, well, I didn't need the CBD oil. I didn't need this. I didn't need that supplement. I just needed to empty my mind of all these dumb thoughts I was having. But here's the beauty of it. If you do that for 2 weeks, not only will you sleep better, which is going to improve your mood and your testosterone levels and everything else we've talked about, and your health, and you're not going to carry as much weight and everything else. Not only is it going to improve all that as a byproduct of just sleeping better, but here's the kicker. You can look back through the journal at the end of 2 weeks, and you're going to notice a pattern of how you're thinking. And when you look back and you see all these patterns of your thinking, I was thinking about my ex-girlfriend. I was thinking about this. I was thinking about this thing that happened to me. Okay, cool. Now what have we discovered? We've discovered triggers. Now, your only purpose as a man in this world is imagine you're a TV remote control, and you're going through life with a load of buttons that people can press all over you and get a reaction out of you. Right? That is what you're walking around as. That you're walking around like a TV remote control with a load of buttons that people can press and get a reaction out of you. Now imagine if by just journaling for 2 weeks, you could start seeing some of these continual buttons and start looking deeper into yourself and understanding, okay, where was that? Where did that come from? What is the key? What is the key? Like, I get that's about my ex-girlfriend now, but where did that first start? Because that didn't start with her, because I felt that before her. Okay, cool. So if you felt that trigger before that ex-girlfriend in this case brought that trigger to you, let's go back and look at where in your childhood that first came up for you. And let's address the cause, so we can remove the button and remove the trigger, so that you can ascend and be the best version of yourself. And that is the most powerful way that I can use a journal in my life, because what I'm looking for in the journal is patterns of events that I'd previously overlooked, to connect it with a trigger, because we all have triggers as men. If I get pissed off with someone, there's a trigger there. I want to know why I'm getting pissed off. Because say me and you have an argument and it's about some content or this, that, and the other, and I'm having an argument with you. The argument isn't with you. Something else is triggering that. Something else. I want to find out what the trigger is, because I want to remove the spark. Then I'm not going to spark up again. So people in life are walking through thinking that they've got all these external problems. Back to the internal problem. It's always internal. It's why you read. You find peace in there. It allows you to sit with yourself internally.
Sure.
And you, unbeknownst to you, I'm sure you probably know this anyway, but you're probably working out internal triggers through reading books and through identifying patterns through just a different modality. But I'm sure if you actually analysed what you're doing, you're actually removing. You can't elevate to the man you are today doing what you're doing in business without having to remove a hell of a lot of triggers on the way to doing it through all the things that you've done. So that's how I do it. I'm sure you can tell them how you do it, but like, I really want people to use that journal to like really identify the patterns. Empty their head first. That's the first goal. Sleep better. Increase every metric just because you've slept better. But now go back and read it and see what you're thinking about. And then understand where that comes from. Because if you can understand that, you can unlock a hell of a lot more doors and take yourself to a whole different level.
Agree. Everything you said is 100% on. These journals can tell you a tremendous amount about who you are. And sometimes when we get in that path of self-discovery, we don't have people helping us out along the way saying, hey, remember this, remember that. But when you have written thoughts, you can go back and study yourself in time, and you can come up with a lot of great answers. So I'm going to use a segue into purpose, right? And let's talk about, we're going down a path of self-discovery. What is your purpose, and do you think that you have found it?
So I'm glad that you asked me this question today, and it's so pivotal that you're asking me in my life right now. So for all of my life, from the age of, let's just say from 26 onwards, I felt I knew my why for every element of my life, and I had it clearly dialed in. But through journaling and through pattern recognition and through speaking to mentors and other people outside of myself, I realized the other day that all of my whys for everything I've done were all to do with helping others and getting my fulfillment for for argument's sake, I did boxing to prove other people wrong. I became the youngest boxing trainer in British boxing history to work at world title level because I was trying to prove something to someone else. So when I got there, it felt empty. Then I realized the other day that my why statement for my podcast was to help people break patterns and flip perspectives so they can have more clarity, more direction, and more success in their life. So what have I identified? All of my whys up until this point of 36-year-olds, as I sat here, have all been about helping others, doing things for other people, external. So I've realized 2 days ago, I don't know my internal why because I'd never seen this pattern. So right now in this moment, as we're going through this conversation and in this moment, chapter of time, this last 2 or 3 days and this week into next week, I'm actually trying to figure out what my internal core why is, because when I do figure it out, I will be even more dialed. But it took me till 36 years old to figure it out, that if you have a why that is solely about helping others, that's great, but you give, and then you feel one day you feel drained, and that's what happened with the podcast. We were doing content the other day, and I was like, why do I feel so depleted? And that's what caused me to go into exploratory mode. So in answer to your question, at this moment in time, I'm not entirely clear on my why for myself, and I'll say that openly and honestly, because I've realized that I've been so clear on my why as why I want to do it for everyone else, but I've never been clear on why I want to do it for myself. And that's why I've steered the conversation always back to this journal and back to this throughout this conversation, because I realized that my own self yesterday. I want to steer every single man that listens to this into the self-exploratory section of their life, the internal work, because I know that is where I'm going to find my answers, and I know that's where you're going to find yours.
That's great. That's very powerful. A lot of men don't even understand what self-discovery is. So I'm glad that you're kind of reflecting on it and saying, hey, there's something there, because we do, especially when we are tweaked like you and like myself in many ways, helping others is all we need. We're just so focused on helping others. My transition came, I was a Wall Street broker, multi-million-dollar producer. I was back in the 90s, and basically I lived the Jordan Belfort lifestyle. Yeah. Okay. And I went through it all. And one day to another, I married a beautiful woman. The next thing I sit across from her and I say, hey, I want to be a cop. I want to be a police officer. And she looks at me and she says, I'm with you all the way. I went from making almost $1 million a year to making $38,000 a year.
Wow.
And one of the most violent cities. I just retired not even 4 years ago. Okay. And I had the opportunity to do what only 1% of cops did, right? Be part of the DEA task force, be part of specific tactical diversion squads, and, be part of SWAT, be part of hostage negotiation. I did a lot of things. I was a police academy instructor for over a decade, and that was my life journey, but it was also a path of self-discovery, because when I started this company, it was 3 years before I hung my badge, 3 years prior. But I had already turned this company into an Inc. 5000 company my last year before I left law enforcement. So something hit me hard, right? Where all of a sudden, and I believe, let me say this, I believe that every man will reinvent himself at least 3 times in his life, maybe 4 or 5 times. And this was my third reinvention, going from a law enforcement officer going back to my entrepreneurial lineage, but this time was a little bit different. It was all about helping men and empowering men, and something hit me, and I felt like, and to this day, I feel like I am doing God's work, like I am in the right place at the right time in the right season of my life. So that to me became my purpose. Like I feel like what I am doing now is my purpose. I know myself. I feel confident in the shoes that I walk in. And it's something very, very special because I didn't get that before.
How old were you when you found that?
I was in my late 40s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is what I want most men to get from what you've just said there. I'm 36 years old and I'm sat here on a podcast, even though I know all my external whys, and I've always known those, and even though I've got a vision for my greater life, you asked me, do I know my why? And I've sat here honestly and said, Rafa, right now I don't know. I just don't know the answer. Right now, I don't.
But you're on the right journey, man. You're on the right path, though.
But I'm creating space and I'm being unjudgmental with myself to allow myself to find out what it is. And what every other man that listens to this podcast has to understand is you're probably being a little bit too judgmental on yourself. So it's all right being hard on yourself in certain areas, but there's certain things that you don't want to overbeat yourself up in because it actually delays you finding out. So wherever you're at, wherever you're listening to this, whatever condition you're in, whatever mental state you're in, just give yourself some grace for a moment to just sit down and figure it out, and figure out the first step. That's all. Just figure out the first step.
That's it.
And that is literally what you've done, right? With that whole story is like you figured out. Okay, well, I was this $1 million broker. I'm on Wall Street. I'm doing this, but I'm not fulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
I need to pursue something that serves the public. Okay, cool. I'll drop down to 38 grand. No part of your external reality can understand that, but internally you knew that.
Oh, 100%.
But no, how can you explain it? But because your wife knew you, she was like, I backed you as a man. I chose to put my life to be guided by you as a man, right? She's like, well, if that's what you say that we're doing that, and I'm backing you with that because I signed up in sickness and in health, and I signed up to do that. Now, isn't that a powerful thing when you can find a woman in your life that does that for you? Because when if most men said that to most women, you'd soon find out that she's not your woman.
Yeah, and I'm gonna, I love this because we're jumping from one thing to another. Before we get out of this subject, one thing that I want to say is purpose, in my opinion, is found when you are knee deep in shit. In other words, when you are putting in the work, when you are just so hyper focused on doing the work that it's almost, in other words, when you're not chasing it, it's almost like you're chasing a hot girl and she's ignoring you. And the more you chase her, the more she ignores you. That's kind of like what I felt at some point where I was trying to find my purpose. But the moment that I just focused on doing the work, it kind of, I don't want to use the word magically appeared, because it wasn't like from one day to another that it was there, but it was just like, now I feel like something powerful, really powerful.
You have to give yourself time to birth these things. You can't just cook it. You have to allow it to cook. You have to allow it. It's like it's funny how you spoke there about talking about you go into a dip, a darker place. I'm in that place. I don't have it all sorted right now. I'm turning up to this podcast today to serve my external why, as in to help other people and, to add value to other people. But internally, my internal why, I'm like, I don't know the answer to that, and that's putting me in a little bit of pain. But I'll tell you what makes me more peaceful about it is I've released it. I've gone, okay, cool. I don't know it. I'm not going to judge. I'm not going to do what I've done 17,000 times before this and judge myself and put myself into the deepest, darkest pit of hell. No point doing that. I'll just know from my past experience and everywhere I've traveled, I know it always works out. So I'm just going to let it be and let it come to me rather than trying to go to it. Too many men are always trying to close the gap, but they don't even know what gap they're closing. and then they're meeting, they're like punching their head against the wall because they're trying to close gaps. It's like when a woman's mad at you, right, and you're out there as a man trying to solve fucking problems. Brother, you don't even know what a problem is. Her problem probably isn't even you. It's probably the time of the cycle of her flow in, you know, in her other life. Like you're
exactly
not,
right.
but you're out there trying to solve. It's just all the time. You know what I'm saying? So you got to make sure you dial it in.
And that's on point. Like 100%. I could not agree with you more. Now, when we talk about women and respect and finding that level of really of admiration, you know, we talk about men who operate at a higher level, high level men, high value men, whatever you want to call them. What we start seeing nowadays is that, you know, I have a daughter. I have a 12-year-old daughter. And I'll tell you that I am, you know, as a father, I want her to eventually meet a man who is high value. But sometimes we tend to move away from really what makes a man high value. And for me, and I'm going to put it out there and see what you agree with or not, I believe that a man who is honorable, has integrity, a man who serves for a higher purpose, a man who is loyal and honest and faithful, a man who is a warrior at heart, who can protect his family, who can provide his family, but more importantly, a man who will have a backbone, who will stand up for his beliefs. That's how I look at a man. And to me, I categorize that man as a warrior man, right? The man of war. That's a man who's ready for battle in all facets in his life. But what I see many times is men who call themselves high value men are just men who have the cars and the houses. And sure, they've done well in business, but they're missing all that other stuff. Because you can be a damn good businessman and be a fucking ruthless pig who really cheats and does all this shit, because I know them personally. And I can also say that, you know, and not to go back in some of the things that you were saying, but I've also seen the fittest men in this planet who are fucking studs, who are great at business, but who are the fucking worst family man you could ever meet. So in the world, for me, a high value man, he must dominate all facets of his life. He must be at least good or above, not above average, good or better at those facets for me to say, okay, to my daughter and give that blessing, because I know the standards that I want for her, and I know the standards that a man is capable of achieving. So what are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts are, the reason why I believe your daughter will never have the problem of meeting a guy that doesn't sit with your standards is because you are showing your daughter every day that you're alive, and she sees you interact with her mother on how women should be treated, how sons should be treated, the roles in the relationship. You know what I mean? Like you're teaching your daughter that, and you could subconsciously program her and say, hey, what's your daughter's name, if you don't mind asking?
Cadence.
You say, hey, Cadence, like did you notice how me and your mother resolved this issue that we had? Yes, we had an issue, but we resolved it like this.
Yes.
Hey, Cadence, did you notice how I saw your mother upset, and I've done this to help your mother through this situation in life. I want you to observe me doing that. I tell you why I want you to observe that, Cadence, because I want the man that you eventually meet and become your man in your life, Cadence, to be a man that does these things for you. And if he doesn't do these things for you, and you do not see these characteristics in this man, then he is not for you. I'm not going to interfere with the relationships you have. I'm not going to interfere with the men that you choose, because that's not what I'm here. But I am here as a guide to show you, through the way that I treat you and your mother and your brothers, to show you, and then explain. You can explain to her from there. Sure. Say, hey, look, and it just all works out from there. I just think that men like you that have the gift of fatherhood, that have the ability to and are showcasing in their daily life what to expect. I get that there's bad men everywhere, and people can make mistakes, but what I've seen is, especially in generational wealth families, people like okay, let's just look at Bill Gates' daughter,
Mm-hmm.
right? I've spoken to her because I helped her test some software, and I know the girl, right? But she's not tattooed. She's not going out rolling in Ron circles. She dresses elegantly. She's this, that, and the other. Why? Because she's Bill Gates' daughter, and her mother had a certain way, and her dad had a certain way,
Yes.
and they've carried themselves in a certain way,
Yes.
and they've carried themselves at a certain echelon of society.
Yes.
So what I'm saying is, with your daughter, the men that I would worry about your daughter meeting, your daughter's not going to meet them because she's not even going to be rolling in the same hierarchy of circles because she's going to be too elegant to even play at that level. So it all comes back down with women and daughters. It all comes back down to the father. The father is it's the father. All the women that are quote unquote degenerate, doing OnlyFans, doing all this, absent dads is what causes that.
Yes.
We have to bring it back to everything is a man's fault in this world. I'm sorry to say it is. We have to take responsibility for everything because it is our fault.
Yes.
If our wife is out there doing stuff that is not congruent with what we want her to do, that is because you've not laid the law down in your house right. You've not set the standard. You've not allowed her to feel safe. You've not created safety in the home. And if your daughter goes and does OnlyFans and this, that, and the other, you have to trace that back to where were you missing in her life then?
Mm-hmm.
Because she has gone out there to do OnlyFans right now because she's trying to get admiration and attention from men. Why? Because she didn't get that in her childhood from her dad. So I don't have any worries about your daughter getting that because I know that every day that you do your morning routine, that you turn up in the house and you speak to her mum in a kind way and you treat her nicely, and that subconsciously is programming your daughter on what to expect, and she can't look for anything less in her reality because she's seen it. That's why, here's the thing, here's the kicker, bring it back into my life. All the girls I've dated, right, up until even my most recent girlfriend, have all come from broken homes, right? But yet my mum and dad have been married 44 years. I'm from a good family. They have no tattoos. They have this, they have that. They have everything sorted. You know, they've done this, they've done property, they've this, that. There's certain requirements in my household that we've lived by, certain tenets that have worked. That's why my sister's got my sister's been married 12 years with 2 children. It's why it's all worked, right? And then me, I go, oh, I'm attracted to the hot Latina that's covered in tattoos, that's from the broken home, Colombian dad, Puerto Rican mum, you know, the sisters out there twerking on boats in Miami. It's not congruent, is it? No wonder it failed, because I brought something in that's a foreign object. It's not that it's foreign in terms of like the nationality. I'm talking about it's not congruent with how I grew up, and I can't unsee what I've seen, and it's no wonder why it won't work. So I can only go for the elegant woman with that comes from the stable household where the parents are married 30 years, because that's all I know. And that's why I'm not worried about your daughter, because I know where she's coming from, and that's why I don't think you have to ever worry about her, because you show it every day.
I love that. Let's talk a little bit about chivalry, opening doors, you know, being a man in our world, right? Where unfortunately we're missing that in every way, shape, or form. I mean, it's very rare where you see a man actually open a car door for a lady, open the restaurant door to go in, and it's just, to me, you know, pull out a chair. Like, I mean, those are things that I not only do I live by, but I teach, and it's part of who I am. And you know, I tend to consider myself a very, pretty elegant man. I mean, I'm always in suits and jackets, and not for podcasts here. I like to be more relaxed, but that's the way I roll. You know, I go to nice places. You know, I live a pretty luxurious lifestyle. My wife is very elegant. My daughter is very elegant. You know, my boys are, they're well dressed. You know, by the way, they work here. I'll introduce you to them in a moment, but and there is a sense of manliness, right? Where we understand that we are the protectors and the providers for women, and we must lead the way as men.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts now? You're 36 years old, so
Yeah.
it's a perfect person that you can answer this to.
I'll pull out a message right in my phone because this is relevant to what you're saying. So I've been seeing this Ukrainian girl, and she said to me, so we're going out last night for dinner, and she said to me, I said to her, look, we'll be there in 5 minutes. She said, I'm coming down. She said, what car? I said, don't worry about the car, because I'm stood outside waiting for you. She's like,
you actually got out of your car.
So what? So she said, I'm having to get used to this because like you've got everything covered. I'm like, yeah, of course. Like I'm not gonna sit in the car waiting for you, having you wonder something, because I don't want your mind to drop into the masculine frame. I don't want you thinking about where we're going for dinner. I don't want you booking the restaurant. I don't want you booking the car. All I want you to think about is, do your makeup, do your hair, wear the dress that you want, float down the stairs like a fairy, and just, I'll be there waiting. I'll open the car door. You get in the car. I'll open the car door when we get to the venue. I'll escort you out. I'll open the door for you to get into the restaurant. I'll pull your chair out. I'll sit you down. You don't have to worry about it. I even ask her before we go, like, what kind of food you like. And I've already like picked out a food, and then pick the food, that's because then you got it covered.
That's a beautiful thing. But how many women, I mean, that's how you operate is how I operate, even with my wife. I mean, that's it. We get to a restaurant. She looks at the menu. She'll tell me, hey, I kind of like this. I order everything. You know, I take lead across the board.
Yeah.
But a lot of women are offended by that.
Not the women that me and you would ever be around, because me and you only go for a certain type of woman. Because
so you're saying like a specific type.
So right? I'm saying that when you're a man, let's take it back a step again. Let's go back to, because you've written down your vision by the time you listen to this podcast. You know what you want in every area of your life, including what your woman looks like, and you won't tolerate anything less. Cool. Now you know that. Now you won't get anything less in your reality. The reason that type of woman is in my life, and she's as elegant as she is and she operates in it, is because I will not accept anything less than that, right? I'm not going to meet the woman that complains about me picking the food or this and that, or doesn't like the door open for her, or wants to twerk in a nightclub in the middle of I'm not going to meet that girl. How am I going to meet that girl? Because I do not tolerate that.
I love that.
I
love that. Yes.
That's it.
That's it.
The reason why me and you don't have to worry about that is because we would never tolerate it. And the reason why any other, if you are getting that type of woman in your life, it's because you're tolerating it.
Yes.
And the only way, these women that you're tolerating that aren't your ideal woman are going to create children that aren't your ideal children, which is going to end up in a situation like, that's why I said to you on that point before, it's like, don't worry about your daughter, Rafi, you ain't got no problems, because you've showed the way, the whole path, your whole life. And your sons and the way that they treat women. She's 12 and she's watching how your boys date and how those boys treat women in your house when they bring their girlfriends home, and how you treat the mother. It all falls down psychologically to how she sees. And the beauty of the fact of your daughter is she's got fucking 3 brothers, whatever. She ain't got no problems. Like it all comes back to what you will and won't accept. I'm sorry.
And the philosophy for sure, it's, you unfortunately you are what you attract, man. A lot of guys will go out there and they're nothing. They're not doing anything with their lives, and then all of a sudden they're wondering why they're attracting that kind of low level pain in the ass woman. And well, maybe you've never done anything with your life. Maybe, you're not living the life that you're supposed to be living. You come from a good family. Meanwhile, you're out here, you're not putting in the time, the effort, you're not focused, you're not growing, you're not doing anything. And, when you are operating at a low frequency like that, what are you going to attract?
Well, the vision I have for my life is once I've been able to secure whether I'm in this place or whether I have to go back to Australia or whatever I have to do. Once I've got my next base locked in where I am, then I'll be able to have the full embodied relationship that I want, and then I'll be able to have my children, and I'll be able to guide them. And it's like it's all. And when I can't wait to do that. You know what I mean? Because I've now feel as a man that I've been through enough in life where I could guide a young child of mine in this world, because I've lived 15 lives up until this point to get to the point. You need life experience, don't you? And that's something you can't buy.
I have a feeling that you're going to do just fine.
Yeah, I think I'll be all right. I mean, you can't say it yourself until you've lived it, and I've not lived the life that you lived. But I'm sure, knowing men like you and how you operate, I can just, if I'm unsure on something, I've got someone I can reach out to that I vibrate with, that I know's done it, and it can advise me. And that's the whole point, because like attracts like, and I'm a younger guy coming up, and you're an older guy. I've now got the ability to ask for mentorship in areas because I came here today and formed a relationship. And that's why you don't do podcasts over Zoom. Do you know what I'm saying? Because you can't do that.
That's a great point, man.
You know what I mean?
That is a great point. Well, I want to say that I didn't get to know you, as far as, social media, because here in person, you're just different, right? It's just a different vibe. So I appreciate you coming on and extending yourself and being part of this podcast. And we had, my opinion, very powerful conversation that so many people are going to get great takeaways from. But before we go, where can people reach you, follow you, all that good stuff?
Well, if you like this kind of conversation, first thing I want to say to you is make sure you leave a review and subscribe on the channel, because he's putting in a lot of work and a lot of effort to put this together for you and reach out to guests. And I know how much work there is in that, so make sure you subscribe to the channel. Second thing I'll say is if you want to reach me, it's either at Frankie Lee on Instagram, or it's the Frankie Lee podcast on YouTube or Spotify or Apple, wherever you want to find it. And you'll find me, and I'll serve you the best way that I can with information that empowers you to move forward in your life,
Awesome. And you have a company also that does what?
Yeah, so my company, if you're looking to remove any online content, is contentremoval.com. We remove images, videos, search results, fake accounts, but
that's a big deal, man. That's a lot. That's a big deal.
We look after a lot of people. We looked after everyone from like Alex Hormozy, Keller Sinez, all the big celebrities that you know on the internet as well. But I just want to, if you want to use us for content removal, by all means use us. But my main purpose of coming on this podcast today is to make sure that you move your life forward in every area. That's
awesome, man. And listen, we didn't speak about spirituality, but I think that you're a solid Christian man. From the way you speak, I can feel it. And that is powerful. So again, thank you for being on. And this is your home here, brother.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.